Let me open by saying hello to the YouTube employee who is reviewing this video to determine whether it can take ads and we can make a few bucks. It's a given that the title will cause immediate demonetization and that I'll have to appeal it for a manual review. So, hello, young college-educated liberal. How are you today? Please watch without the assumption that because I'm an old white guy weighing in on a racial issue, that I must then be promoting hatred. Set your bias aside and listen. I live in a very diverse town, 40% white, 30% black, and the rest is Hispanic, Armenian, Asian, and mixed race. I interact every day with black people, and it's my pleasure to do so. I moved here 18 years ago, mostly to be near a coffee house where I produced a musical event each Sunday. On Tuesday nights, I belonged to a fiction writers group that also met at that coffee house. It was a critiquing group. We all analyzed one another's writing in order to help each other get better. We had 2 female black writers in that group, one of whom was really gifted. The other was bright, but not a good writer. I noticed early on that neither of these women ever received the sometimes rough truths about their work that the rest of us had to deal with. My stuff was criticized microscopically, and sometimes my feelings got hurt, but all of that made me a better writer. The black women in the group received only praise. I coined a word for that, black-nosing. You see, the white liberals who made up most of the group were so deathly afraid of being thought racist that they denied these fellow writers the guidance that they freely gave to one another. Shoring up their own image as not racist was important to them. The creative success of these 2 women was not so important. I can't count the number of times I've been talking with a group of liberal white people, and one of them mentioned a black cultural figure. Everybody was quick to say how brilliant that person was. I almost expect to see Maya Angelou on Mount Rushmore. This is not to imply that black people are not frequently brilliant. It's just to say that being black does not make a person brilliant, any more than being white does. But really, next time you're around a group of white liberal college students, ask them who their favorite poet is. It will either be Angelo or Langston Hughes. Try it. I dare you. I'm talking to you, young YouTube employee. Try it out in the cafeteria. Every Black History Month finds the folks at Google desperately trying to track down black scientists or mathematicians to feature in their Google Doodle. Though there are hundreds or thousands of black notables from the worlds of entertainment and sports, acknowledging them smacks of the minstrel show to young white progressives. They are desperate to find blacks who have done well in fields dominated by white men. It's a well-intentioned effort, but so very obvious. Black-nosing always is. Look who white liberals hold up as black public intellectuals. Michael Eric Dyson, Cornel West. These men have moved through academia on a magic carpet. All that either man has to do is stimulate the white guilt of those who control the universities, and they will collect the benefits. That is their actual profession. They are professional guilt enablers for white academics and excuse creators for black politicians who want to keep their jobs. Whenever there is a panel discussion about race on TV, one of these guys or another lesser-known figure cut from the same cloth shows up to present the favored idea. All problems facing blacks are due to white racism. Dyson publishes a book almost every year, and the topic is always the same: white racism and how it cripples blacks. These men may be scholars, but their genius is manipulating white guilt. The 2 most notable black intellectuals on the right are Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams. They don't teach black history. They're both professors of economics. Both are revered by the white Republicans who are assumed by white Democrats to be racist. When Sowell and Williams are asked to comment about problems in black society, they go after root causes. They use historical data, logic, and a deep understanding of human nature to illuminate the real problems. Turns out that all people, regardless of race, either succeed or fail based on what they themselves do in the context of their family, their community, and their educational experience. All white liberals who have done well know this. They demand the very best of their own children, but when it comes to handing out a little tough love to black kids, well, they just don't have the stomach for that. They would rather that every black kid in America fail than to risk somebody calling them racist. You can't get West or Dyson to explain how it is that white racists are responsible for the endemic problems in cities like Detroit, Baltimore, Oakland, St. Louis, Newark, etc., etc. These towns have been run by Democrats for decades. Most of the power positions are held by black Democrats. So why do these towns and their people continue to struggle so much? The answer is simple: black-nosing. If you only give praise and never tough criticism, you deprive people of life's roadmap. The way to success at anything is a run through the gauntlet. You take some lumps, you face defeats, and you move forward only with effort. But if you keep going, you come out strong, with no illusions about either yourself or the power of your own attitude and actions to lift you up or to keep you down. The number one cause of death for young black men in America is murder. Think about that. This isn't an interesting statistic. This is a national crisis. But the nervous Nellies who run the media and the universities and the Democratic Party bite their tongues and say nothing. They know that 93% of murder victims are killed by people of their same color. They know that blacks are killing blacks, and they say nothing. Nothing, that is, until a black kid is killed by a cop, and then they can think of nothing else. Now all of the concern they have for black kids erupts to the surface as they apply the only blame that is approved by their liberal group. They blame white racism. They can only object to the deaths of blacks if they can do it while still black-nosing. Let's look at a quick timeline of the life of an average inner-city black person. He's born to a single mother and is raised by her and her single mother. No father is present. He attends a noisy, chaotic school where unions have dumped the teachers who can't cut it out in the suburbs. You know, where male-female parenting teams demand the best teachers for their kids. Throughout his youth, his main cultural influence is violent, obscene, and hypersexualized rap music. He is passed on from grade to grade, even when he should be held back because standards are lower for black kids than for their suburban counterparts, who have the advantage of intact homes, better teachers, and peaceful schools. If he has any male role models at all, they are likely the tough guys who run the local gangs or drug rings. And what he is spit out by the so-called educational system at 18, he has approximately the educational skills of a white suburban 12-year-old. He's had nobody to kick his butt and demand from him his best. Add to this years of confidence-sapping progressive propaganda that has convinced him that the cops are out to kill him and white racists are secretly working to prevent him from ever succeeding. If you grew up that way, how would you turn out? I want to flash back to my earlier comment about blacks succeeding in sports and music, more so than in academic pursuits. I want to explain why. Are you still with me, YouTube employee? I hope so. In sports, there is no black-nosing. Here, a boy either makes a play or he doesn't. In the inner cities, perhaps the only place where a boy can receive stern, unflinching guidance from an adult male is on a sports team. No excuses are accepted. No half-assed effort is good enough. There are rules and discipline, and every season is the gauntlet I talked about earlier. There is only winning and losing and all of the efforts that will increase one and decrease the other. Feedback is everywhere from coaches, fellow players, the fans in the stands, and the girls at the after party. Guilty white liberals have no currency in this world. But they're working on it, as we saw when Colin Kaepernick used his own half-white guilt to bring progressive politics into football. ESPN is now infected as well. Sadly, black music has already been ruined. Think for a minute how much of American culture was influenced by black men being excellent. I'm a musician, and believe me, playing jazz takes brains and talent and work. Only a disciplined guy can enter that world and succeed. You didn't get to play with Louis Armstrong's band or Duke Ellington's orchestra until you brought your A game. Thelonious Monk, Miles Davis, John Coltrane, this music was invented by tough, exacting black men. It then spread into white culture and became the grand experiment in black-white interaction. The same was happening in blues, R&B, and rock and roll. Again, young men being guided by older men in a world where a bad performance is penalized and a good performance is praised. And where, if a guy could keep it together, the world would open up for him like a blossom. And then hip-hop, a music based on the theft of existing tracks and the crude verbal affirmation of every negative black stereotype you can think of. This has been a descent from the cultural heavens into Dante's Inferno. These rappers are primarily con artists, spitting out crude doggerel over looped riffs. Louis Armstrong cannot be so dead that his heart is not breaking every minute of every day. Nobody pushed back against this dissolution of America's popular music. Why? Because black-nosing. The intellectual elites had to affirm this nonsense, and white suburban kids became the primary audience. They responded to the danger and crudity, and their parents were helpless to stop it. Why, we can't possibly criticize black music. That would seem, well, racist. Yes, I know that there are hip-hop artists that, even in this simplistic and debauched venue, rise to creative heights. But as far as what it does for blacks being taken seriously, well, it ain't jazz, and it ain't Motown. So why have blacks achieved in these worlds, but not so much in college? Because educational black-nosing gets them to the university without the preparation they need to compete and succeed. This is not complicated. My point is this. Everybody needs accurate praise and constructive criticism. Everybody needs to know what the standards are and what disciplines are needed to achieve those standards. Nobody is helped by being called brilliant when he's actually phoning it in. If there is such a thing as white privilege, it is based on not being given something until it is earned. Our civilization became great based on that principle and is falling apart based on the gradual destruction of that principle. In every major city, we have examples of what works. We have charter schools run by tough, loving black men who impose discipline and produce college-ready black students. You can walk the halls of these schools in safety. The uniformed students are busy learning. They know that if they slack off, they will have to leave. The rules and structures are clear to them. The feedback is accurate and truthful and not designed to coddle them, but to strengthen them. Our nation cannot afford to write off entire segments of the population simply because guilt-ridden white liberals are too frightened to stand up and speak the truth. To criticize bad behavior is not oppression. It's a vote of confidence. When you reject bad behavior, you are saying that you know the person before you is capable of better. That's not an insult, that's a compliment. We need to stop putting the virtue signaling needs of white liberals ahead of the development of black kids into productive, law-abiding citizens. No more double standards. No more set-asides and phony race-based preferences. We need to put an end to all of this nonsense, and we need to slam the door on the damaging and embarrassing practice of black-nosing. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications.